I call the meeting now to order. We do have a quorum on this day, May 19th, 1800 hours. For citizens to be heard, I believe there is no citizens to be heard today. So we'll go on to the next. On the consent to the agenda minutes for April. Do we have it? It's open for discussion. Do we have any discussion on it? Has everybody read it for the last month's meetings, minutes? Do I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the minutes as seen.
Motion has been made for approval of minutes as stated. Do I have a second?
I second.
We have a second. Motion carries. Second is now business items to be discussed. Commission will now consider and take possible action, discussions of staff direction on amending the city's Code of Ordinance, Chapter 153, zoning codes, Article 1, general provision, amending definitions.
This one is no action, it's just discussion.
Okay, so open for discussion. Do we have any discussion on this?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about there's a couple definitions that we are talking about back in March. That's going to be regarding retail head shops, vape shops, smoke shops, cannabis shops, all those. So I provided a little more resources. And then there's two at the back that we'll kind of get to here. Can you pull up the presentation, please? Go. Yeah, no, that's fine. Keep going. Next one, please. Great, thank you. Okay, so just to provide an update, there was legislative updates for Texas regarding any cannabis sales back in March. This was right after our last P&Z meeting. So no longer available for purchase or THC products greater than 0.3%, not 3%. Hemp or flower buds, pre-rolled hemp, any smokable or inhalable hemp products. Items that can still be purchased are CBD oils, hemp edibles, hemp capsules, topicals, hemp infused beverages. So think of what you're seeing in gas stations the past few months. Those are probably going to start going away. What you remember probably pre-COVID of what was initially hemp products in Texas is probably going to go back to what the new standard is again. But it's not going to be any flower buds or anything like that in gas stations. But this does not affect any Texas Compassionate Use Program, which is what the city has been seeing some interest in from businesses. So this is any medical cannabis. Those businesses, they're exempt from these regulations because it is a medical need that's a prescription by a doctor. Can you scroll down, please? Okay, so there was multiple items that was kind of requested from the last meeting. So I just want to provide what definition we have adopted first. So we do have retail head shops as adopted definitions currently, but this is only going to be kind of geared towards tobacco products, no cannabis, no. San Antonio has a better kind of definition where it talks about illegal cannabis and drugs in the head shops, but that's not really how we have it defined currently. Scroll down, please. Last meeting requested, right, was COSA definitions and kind of how they define it. This is kind of a mishmash of what is adopted and what's going to be adopted next year. I think I mentioned it back in either February or March. Not everything is adopted by COSA, but they do 1 year of roundups for all their definitions. They don't do it month to month in discussions like we do. So they're looking at adding this to the Unified Development Code in 2027. But regardless of when it is adopted, these are the definitions that are going to be looked at and adopted starting next year. So if there's any thing that we like out of it, if we don't like, I know that there was topics that we enjoyed last meeting when we were discussing the definitions, when it was regarding distance from public parks or from schools. Those things are important, but they're not all defined in every definition that we're going to find for any municipality, right? So can you go down to the next slide, please? COSA, City of San Antonio, does a great job of doing it for schools, right? And they even have it in there that you need a special use permit or specific use permit if you're around a school and you want to do within that 1,000 feet. But regardless, you can do it within 1,000 feet of any school, daycare, private or public school, anything like that. Um, with that said, they don't have it for public spaces like Brenham does. And we looked at that definition last meeting as well. But public parks, public spaces, that's going to be for the Brenham definition. If we can scroll down, please. Thank you. Theirs is much more substantial, much larger. They cover a lot more bases, right? Public hospitals, daycare facilities, religious facilities. Some are 300 feet, some are 1,000 feet. Now, I know the concern came up last month. Hey, Balcony Heights is very small, right? We're less than 1 square mile. 1,000 feet is going to be a lot for us if we do want to allow these businesses in the city here. So what I did provide is a couple maps, and I'm using as if we had adopted the Brenham definition, right? So this is going to be 1,000 feet from parks and schools that are currently in the city. So this is 1,000 feet. That darker blue area is going to be your 1,000 feet perimeter around Novak Park. That's going to encompass just about all the neighborhood. There's not really any commercial area that they would be able to go in there and set up shop anyway. But regardless, that is 1,000 feet out around that perimeter. Next one, please. This one's going to be 1,000 feet. Daycare facility. There's a new daycare facility off of Hillcrest. I cannot for life of me remember what the name of it is, but that is 1,000 feet within. Can you scroll a little bit up? Go back to the daycare. This is right on the border of San Antonio and Balcones Heights, close to Babcock and Hillcrest. Regardless, we're covering just about all the rest of the houses in that neighborhood within that 1,000 feet perimeter. Scroll down, please. This one's going to be St. Gregory. We're covering most of San Antonio, but there is one commercial area on the other side of I-10. This is going to encompass that entire area. So we wouldn't be able to allow any cannabis retail shops, anything like that, again, if we're going to adopt that 1,000 feet perimeter. Scroll down one more.
Okay. So, excuse me. So that means that that office place that has a sign
Ian's
there. is
business park,
Ian's-
that would fall within 1,000 feet. Nobody
so
would be able to move
nobody
in.
would- Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last one. This one's, I think, the most present one. This is Rogier's Park, right in the middle of the neighborhood, the residential area. That's 1,000 feet, encompassing the entire perimeter there. I mean, we're cutting off just about all of Fredericksburg, most of the mixed-use residential or mixed-use commercial area. Excuse me, the most of Fredericksburg corridor. You're kind of ignoring Crossroads, North Crossroads, so there would be areas that they could move in if it is allowable. And we adopt that 1,000 feet, but that's just a reference of, hey, do we want to adopt such a extreme distance for them to not do business in around these public areas, around public parks, schools, anything like that? I did not include the Justice Center, but as you can imagine, that would probably cover the rest of the mall if it was 1,000 feet around that perimeter.
Yeah.
From northeast side of Balcones Heights to southwest side. So think of by St. Gregory all the way down to Babcock. That's about 7,000 linear feet. Within those 7,000 linear feet, there's at least one location that's kind of, we would exclude it from that. So most of the city would be excluded, being not allowed to do this type of business if we were, again, to include that 1,000 feet.
Okay.
So
But do-
again, I'm really just looking for direction on how we want to steer these definitions. Do we want to adopt 1,000 feet? Do we want to look at something lower? Do we still want to keep it separated? I'm hoping by next meeting I can present definitions that we can take action on and we can start pushing it to city council, because we still have this one. We have a few others that we need to look at. I know data centers we looked at a few months ago. Those are all ready to go, but each time that we look to push it to city council, we need to do public hearings, and each public hearing costs money. So I want to make sure we just wrap up as many as we can into one and just push it along.
So one quick question. Have we gotten any requests for this particular business coming in?
We've gotten one that is looking at a property along Fredericksburg Road, but they would fall under TCUP, the Texas Compassionate Use Program. So they would be exempt from
Okay.
that initial Texas legislative changes. But regardless, I mean, we kind of want to make sure that we're defining it for the one by the laundromat, right? I know Santiago defined that one or referenced that one last meeting. There is one in the city right now that really goes under the radar that we classify it as general retail. So I haven't seen anybody else look or show interest in the city, but that doesn't mean it's not there that we don't know of, right? They're only going to
Mhm.
contact the city at the last minute when they're looking, hey, it is allowed, and we want to pull our certificate of occupancy.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, may I be recognized?
absolutely.
Do you have a map where all these overlap by chance?
I don't.
I'll flip them back and forth, and three of them overlap quite a bit, it
Yeah.
looks like. So if all of these were active, it would knock out a huge part of the city,
It-
it seems.
Just about,
A
yeah.
good chunk down by,
I think the area that would be left open would be that northeast corner of the mall of the WODA footprint,
Okay.
and then probably Fredericksburg corridor that's northeast.
so is the discussion now trying to decide if we want to stick with the 1,000 or we want to recommend a smaller area?
One, yeah,
Okay.
what area we want to look at, if it's still 1,000 feet, if we want to go lower. San Antonio has some in there, or I'm sorry, Brenham, I think has some in there that's 300 feet from
Right.
single family residential areas. I would recommend that we still keep it higher for schools, right? On my side of town, I live close to Madison. There's one right across the street. You can step outside the vape shop and you're staring straight at the school, right? The San Antonio adopted these definitions for a reason, to make sure that we're not I don't want to say encouraging, but helping the problem, right, of kids being able to access this easily,
course.
but
So-
public areas are something else.
I guess what is the city's recommendations on?
1,000 feet from schools, and then we look at public spaces as something different, right? Because if we look at all public spaces like parks, then we're completely removing the entire commercial area.
Are
of
we
Fredericksburg
thinking
Road.
300 from parks or commercial? space?
I would rather hear y'all's discussion of what y'all think is best,
I
right?
just want to
Because
know what the city is recommending at this point. No recommendation?
no recommendation.
Okay.
I would say that schools are the most important thing to
Course, yeah.
consider. Public
Agreed.
parks are up to y'all's discretion.
Agreed.
But yes, we need to talk about distances, but we need to talk about the definition, because again, all we have defined right now is head shops and is just very small. So nothing about vape shops, nothing about tobacco shops if we want to do that, or
Brenham is
any
the,
cannabis products like that.
Brenham is the one that has
Thank
the most
Yeah,
defined.
they
and
have the
that-
most content in it.
Yeah, and those are the ones that I would go by, is the Brenham, because they're more defined, they're more targeted. And if we're trying to not let them curve or go around or circumvent the system, then we have a lot more to bite with. And if it does have to go to the BOA, well, then it goes to the BOA. But at least we have something solid to go by if we go by Brenham definitions and guidelines. But and then we can accommodate the feet. We can talk about the feet away, how many feet that we need to secure this for at that point. What I recommend at this time.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I was just trying to get clarification on what we
Yeah.
were trying to accomplish.
Absolutely. Okay, so right now we have what, 1,000 feet for the
Right
city?
now, we don't.
We don't have anything.
No, we don't have
Okay.
anything. Yeah,
Okay, so
they can go in any retail area right now.
okay,
If Brenham is the consensus on that's the definition we
Yes,
like, I
yes.
can create a definition that's near identical that applies to the city that we can show
And then
next month.
we can always adjust the feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So if
So-
y'all can give me an idea on distances, we can adopt that, and I can have something proposed next month.
Anybody have any suggestions here?
May I be recognized?
Absolutely.
I'm 100% fine with the 1,000 feet from schools, but I agree, public spaces, if we don't want to eliminate most of the city, we're going to need to bring that in a little bit.
Absolutely.
I don't think 300 feet is bad. Is anybody want to
Oh.
suggest bringing it in closer than that? 150 or,
300 feet there, that's 100 yards.
it's a football field, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, think of that circle would be a third of what it is right now.
Yeah.
That would be
And
300 feet.
that would be fine with me.
Is that still allows Fredericksburg to be serviceable?
breathe.
You're allowing
yes.
Project Fergus at that
Still
point. Yeah.
eliminate the,
It would not
Surrounding.
encompass, it would not it would not encompass the Fredericksburg. And they would
Fredericksburg
allow
corridor
them
would
to
be
bring
open.
more business to Fredericksburg,
Yeah,
which is ultimately what do we want? So yes, I'm good with that. Anybody else?
Be recognized.
Absolutely.
So Branham is, how big is the town? Do you know?
it is larger than the city. I don't have a population estimate.
So it's a small community,
It-
right?
I'll probably say between 30 and 50,000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it has Blinn College, the main Blinn College campus. It's about an hour outside of College Station. It's not a small town, but it's not a large town.
I agree with 300 for
Okay.
now.
1,000 feet from public and private schools, and 300 feet from single family. Everybody okay with that?
I'm okay with it.
Okay. And we can present that to the city council as
Can
a
I ask a-
recommendation.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Aren't there stores that are selling vape already within town?
They are, yeah. This goes
Yes.
back to it. I have to allow them because there's no definition. So they
Yeah.
would fall under either general retail or if they would be defined as a teacup, right? Texas compassionate use, they would fall under a pharmacy.
Sure.
So we would have to allow them in. There's nothing that says I can't put them next to St. Gregory's right now, you know?
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
So there is the urgency to get this done because if somebody wants to set up shop closer than close 300 feet from the school, then we can't stop them.
I don't think that
You know,
property
I-
owner
I'm-
would allow it, but
Yeah, but-
regardless, yeah, they would be allowed to do it.
It was just
Yeah. We have a few more definitions to talk about if we're all
Okay.
good on this topic. Can you scroll down, please?
okay.
Right there. Great. So back in October, November, for 7001 West IH10, the Balcony Size Business Park, they had wanted to amend the ordinance. They wanted to include automotive detailing and car wraps. This went to city council. It was approved to allow a business in there that does automotive detailing and wraps. That ordinance has already changed, but looking back at it now, there's a gap in our ordinances and definitions where there is no definition at all for automotive detailing and wraps, that type of permitted use. So that last definition that you see there, motor vehicle service and repair, is what is currently adopted by Balcony Sites. It is a very lengthy definition, but in there you'll see cleaning or detailing. That needs to be removed, and we need to be able to adopt a separate definition that allows automotive detailing and car wraps specifically. So there's not any cities that I can find in Texas that have wraps kind of defined in there, but detailing, you'll see Belleville, you'll see Flatonia, those first two definitions on there. They have adopted detailing shops, those kinds of things. So we need to look at adding this definition that kind of combines the two things. So if, again, this is kind of like the last thing that we just talked about, I'm just looking for direction. If there's items that you like out of these definitions, great. If not, then I can look for more, or we can try to propose something that's kind of a combination of these two.
Well, I have an extensive experience with equipment selling for this type of product, for wraps and detailing. Also, what I suggested for the gentleman that got in with Ian is that it had to be enclosed, has to be encapsulated, has to be filtered, and then it has to be dispensed if they use any water. It has to be reduced to a certain micron before it gets dispensed to the city sewer. Okay? If it can't meet those, then they have to evaporate it. Then once they evaporate, and I showed them the systems that are available, but the way they did it is they don't wash outside, they wash inside. Everything is contained. They recapture 100% of the water, and they get rid of, everything they get rid of is non-hazardous. It's all biodegradable. And that's what I recommended to them, which I believe they presented to you. So if we follow that suit, then we follow that same thing as far as wraps go. They do it inside, closed door, so that none of the articles or the drop, what they call drop, starts flying everywhere. which is really sticky, gets in another car. You got to have a adhesive remover to get it off another car, whatnot. So if you can incorporate something to that extent that it has to be indoors, door secured, then wrapping a car makes zero noise. More noise, the only noise you probably hear is the music that they're playing while they're working, pretty much. But if we can follow that, what they did there, and if you want me to, I can give you bullet points on what is absolutely necessary, either for evaporation or reducing it down to minimum microns on disposal, whatever the city requires that they can accept from them, no oils whatsoever. And if they do have oils, they have to have a oil water separator above ground that is treatable.
Maybe Rex?
Go ahead.
If I'm not mistaken, that's more code compliance. We're just trying to define what the business is. I don't think in the
Well-
definition we list each thing they have to do with as opposed to regulation.
That would
right?
go into business regulations later
Right.
on.
That wouldn't be
But
part of
there's
it.
some elements that we can include on there, right? Like no use of oils as part of the definition, if it's standard across the board. There's other things like the microns, right, that would have to go into business regulations and how we mitigate that. They wouldn't be able to show any runoff anyway because it would be, excuse me, an MS4 violation. That's a municipal stormwater system
Mhm.
violation. So the second it goes into the streets and ends up in the stormwater, there's already violations for it. So they would have to recapture that. I don't think that that's really anything that we define or have to define, right? Because they can't do it anyway, right? If it is, then it's a violation of the ordinances, they get cited and so on, right? So to a degree, it is code compliance, but yeah, we need to define it first before we can start regulating the business. So I did take some points out of the right inside closed doors for wraps and detailing, recapture, runoff and pollutants, no use of oils, but it needs to be a clear definition of what the business is what we're looking for. Because they're already allowed to do business there. We just
Yeah.
need to fill that gap that was left after council adopted that amendment.
Yeah, so when Ian approached me and asked me what would be the safest for his facility and not ruin the substrate inside or out, I recommended a totally encapsulated system, which worked out very well for them. There's zero water, no runoff, zero runoff. So, and that's where it came into play when they came to you.
Yeah.
And I told him, hey, that's going to fly because there's zero.
Yeah, we
zero-
haven't had
zero-
issues with them yet.
None
so, yeah.
whatsoever. No staining of the concrete, no staining of, no runoffs, no nothing. So. Okay.
Yeah, there's one more definition. If there's no more input on this one, we can go on to that last
Yeah.
one here. Great. Last slide, Roy. Accessory buildings. This one's going to be the quickest one that we'll go over. It is very straightforward definition. I have no issues with the definition, except that it does not define the limitation of how many accessory buildings that you can have. So if a resident here wants to apply for 5 different accessory buildings, and as long as it meets the setbacks, they can do it, and it doesn't exceed 1,000 square feet per building. So we need to look at adding it if everybody sees quantity as an issue, right? If you don't want to see 5 different sheds in somebody's backyard from your property, then we need to look at adding quantity in there, the amount of accessory buildings that's allowed per residential, R1, R2, whatever it may be. If there's no issues, then we'll keep that definition as is.
Okay. Is this just for residential?
This is just for residential.
Okay. I'm good with this. Anybody have any questions or input?
Should we consider limitations on if lot size, like per square feet or anything like
Uh,
that? Is that?
As was stated that if the setbacks are met and not exceeded.
So this is the definition that we already have.
Right. I see that.
If everybody's okay with how it is, we don't need to make changes. But if I have a resident come in, again, they want to add 10 different,
They want to line their fence with.
they want to line their fence with it and it meets the setbacks, they can line the fence with it. They can
their
add,
property.
20 different accessory buildings. if that's the shared consensus, it's their property and they can do what they want, that's fine. But eventually there will be somebody that complains about it, so I want to make sure that this definition is clear and everybody's still on the same page that
Well,
we're okay with
mhm.
an infinite amount of, accessory buildings, given that it falls within this criteria? Or do we want to add a limitation of buildings?
Absolutely. We have to have a limitation for the simple reason is aesthetics. Aesthetics is going to be key, is what we really want, something inviting in our residential area. We want to make it appealing to the customers, to the residents next door, neighbors. If you have 10, it looks like you have chicken coops. You see all these little roofs. So I think we should recommend, and if they need more, then they can go to the BOA and let the BOA decide. That's what I recommend.
May I be recognized?
Absolutely.
Is there a case in point kind of thing going on right now where there's a
I-
certain area that has too
There is a
many?
resident that wants to put in probably about 4 different accessory buildings.
And is there, so as long as they don't exceed, right now, as long as they don't exceed.
Each
1,000
building
square
does not
feet,
exceed 1,000 square feet. So if
Okay.
all 4 of those buildings are 1,000 square feet each, they're fine because there's no limitation of
So it's,
the quantity of buildings.
it's a large building.
It is. So, I- again, if there's no issues with the definition, we can leave it as is. It's just, eventually somebody's going to complain about something no matter what. No, you can't make everybody happy. But if I see this as something that, there might be a gap in the definitions, maybe we should look at it. If y'all are okay with it, great. If not, then let's add a quantity.
Okay.
Yeah, but the discussion is what I'm looking for.
I'm all for people using their property for what they want, but again, then you get into, I'm sure there are city regulations already as far as cleanliness and, because then you end up with rat issues and you end up with other possible issues if they're not maintained properly. That's a tough one. What do you guys think about?
I recommended we have a minimum of 2 or a maximum of 2. If they want more than 2, then that's 2,000 square feet. That is pretty huge building. If they want more than 2, then they can bring it up to the BOA and let the city council decide how many they want to give them. But if we leave it open, can you imagine? I can just see it going out of whack real quick, like in a hurry.
Right, but they're not requiring them to be 1,000 square feet. So if somebody has a small shed for their lawnmower
Uh-huh.
and they want to add a small greenhouse or something else, these might be very small buildings. It doesn't say that they have to be 1,000 square feet.
And so
So
we
say
could also
not-
do a
not to
max
exceed
on,
1,000.
total square footage too. We
Right.
can do that as
Something
well.
like that might be a better,
Yeah, if we add
Way to
total
tackle.
square footage, then if they get 3, let's say we decide it's 1,000 square feet max, and they have 3 buildings, or each of them are 333 square feet each, then they can put 3. They have that's close to 1,999 square feet.
right
Mhm.
now it reads that the total number can't exceed 1,000 square feet.
What you're reading is what it is right now.
I'm just
yeah.
trying to understand it.
Yeah.
I'm reading it over and over, but my brain isn't.
I've
firing
asked
all small.
multiple people to read this and they see it the same way I do, right? There's
Okay.
no clear statement of what your max amount of buildings are. It just says you cannot exceed 1,000 square feet. So you can have as many buildings as you want as long as that one building does not exceed.
As long as
1,000
a
square
single
feet.
building doesn't,
Yeah.
not a total.
Not in total,
Oh,
so-
oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was misreading it. I was thinking it's total.
no,
Wow, so you could
So-
really.
yes.
You can do some damage.
Oh,
Yeah, you
man.
can do some real serious
Yeah.
damage, and it's not going to look aesthetically pleasing to the neighbor.
So again, there's 2 routes. We can put a maximum on buildings, or we can put a maximum on total square footage that is allowed for any quantity of buildings that you have in the backyard,
Or both.
or both.
I honestly think both might be the way to go, just because people's lots are different sizes. If you tell somebody 1,000 square feet total, but their entire backyard is 1,000 square feet, they could still fill it. with
Well,
accessory
The,
buildings
the
Right here
smallest,
is-
Versus somebody who has 3 or 4 or 5,000 square feet
yeah,
back
the
there.
smallest parcel in the city is about 5,000 square feet, which
Okay.
is very small. The largest parcel, you're going to be looking at 30,000 square feet. So there's a wide range of property sizes in the city.
Okay. So what sounds feasible? A quarter of the, could be accessory building? Is that too much? It seems like a lot.
I think if we put in there, not to exceed 2 or 3 buildings, and then you can put 3 buildings not to exceed 1,000 square feet. If you do want to go in for it, just go in front of the BOA. But 2 to 3 buildings, and say you need a lawnmower, a little greenhouse, and then a storage shed. So those are going to be different sizes. So 3 buildings or 1,000 square feet.
A total of 1,000 square feet.
A
So
total
3
of
buildings,
1,000 square
maximum
feet.
3 buildings, not to exceed a total of 1,000 square feet.
Yes, for
Okay.
storage in the back, not living quarters, non-living quarters, yeah. And that way, if they want something different, it just goes in front of the city council and let the city council decide. But that time they provide a picture or a diagram of what and where it's going to be at setting. Is going to have to go through you.
Yeah, they have to provide that
Yeah,
already.
So,
whenever they
so
apply.
the city council will see it and said, okay, yeah, that looks aesthetically pleasing. Or that the neighbors won't have a problem with this. We don't think it's a nice building and whatnot. And so I think 3 buildings, not to exceed 1,000 square feet. That's what I would recommend. If anybody has any other input, please.
Thinking. Trying to mentally do it. I think 3 is reasonable. I mean, I don't know if we should as much number the amount as the size. I think 1,000 square feet, that's quite a bit. I mean, an accessory build, God, I think 1,000 square feet. That's a large building. You got anything, Hilo?
It's 100 by 10.
Yeah.
That's a pretty large building. That's what I'm saying. If they divide lawnmower shed or little greenhouse and their storage, a walk-in storage, that should be more than plenty. But if we have unlimited number of buildings, because if I was a resident and I had a big property, I said, well, you know what, I'm going to build 5 here and then another 2-car garage here, storage, park my cars in here, and then I'm going to fill up the back. Well, then my neighbors are going to probably say, hey, what the heck, man? And you're blocking the whole view. So that's what I'm looking at as what the neighbors are going to say if we allow them to build an unlimited number of. Go ahead. Absolutely.
May I be recognized?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
So my thought is, since everyone has different amount of space in the back, would it be feasible to the storage space be according to the storage, the size of the buildings or
The footprint.
number of, be based on the amount of property that the person has. So let's say that it could only be, say, 1/3 or 1/2 or 3/4 of the size of their property, so that there is some space for in case of a fire, in case of, I don't know, just so that it's not completely the property is not completely
We can do a fraction of the footprint of the backyard as
that's
something
fine.
that, the maximum amount of buildings based on your footprint, not to exceed
Not
this amount, right?
of the whole property, just maybe half of the property or certain amount.
Well, right now we have setbacks. And those setbacks are because the fire department needs to get around them, around the building. So they have to meet that setback, so that the fire department, what you were saying, the fire department can go completely around. Plus, each and every permit has to pass through the fire department anyway. So they would be required to, like you're saying, to have enough property
Space.
space in between, and they won't be able to fill up their whole property area. Absolutely not.
Right, but even then with that, that space that is reserved, not, still not fill the whole property with buildings. So you could only fill, say, half of that property with buildings or one building or et cetera, as opposed to completely use the total amount of property with buildings, storage buildings or whatever.
And we can have somebody check on that, see how much we can actually enforce as far as that's concerned. So I'm not sure that we can enforce how much to a certain extent. I know we can enforce not to exceed 1,000 square feet, the building itself. But as far as, that's why we want to come up with a number of buildings. And if we come up with a number of buildings that cannot exceed 1,000 square feet, everybody is going to meet your criteria. And if they want to go above that, then that's why they go in front of the Board of Adjustments. And the Board of Adjustments would actually look, okay, how much of this property is going to be left open, and or how much property is going to be left vacant in the back for these people, and they would make the decision. But we need to regulate it a small footprint as we within reason, so that if that person, that resident has twice amount the property that you would have or another resident would have, well, then you really couldn't, do the same amount of buildings. Does that make sense? You would have, the one with the smaller one would have to have smaller buildings to accommodate if we did a third of the back or half of the back. Does that make sense?
Right, I understand what you're saying. I'm just thinking that someone with a larger property may be able to accommodate 1,000, what is it, 1,000 feet?
1,000 square feet, yes.
And then someone with a smaller property may not be able to accommodate 1,000 square feet.
Do we have anybody that's does not have 1,000 square feet in the back, or?
There might be one or two, those properties that are, 5,000 square feet or 6,000 square feet. They
Okay.
might have a backyard that's less than 1,000 square feet, but
Not very many?
not many off the top of my head, and
The majority do have it.
majority do. I think the median amount of square feet per parcel is between 9 and 12,000 square feet. Yeah.
Okay.
So most of them fall within that range, but the extreme is 5,000, and on the other side, right, is 25, 30,000 square feet. So
Okay.
Chair, may I be correct?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I'm thinking of some of these homes that are up here, I forget the street, all their property is in the front, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the houses are in the back, so we're gonna have 3 or 4 buildings in the front.
No.
you can't have a building in the front.
Exactly.
Right now, you can't have an accessory building that's closer to the street than the main face of your house. They would have to go to the Board of Adjustments anyway.
Yeah, so that would be a problem.
Well, it would be, they would probably end up just getting a carport. I don't see the Board of Adjustments approving a storage in front of any sort. So,
Even with carports, that's considered an accessory building. They would
Yeah.
have to go to the Board of Adjustments for that as well.
exactly.
May I be recognized?
Absolutely.
Is there any minimum size that's not considered an accessory building? Like if somebody just gets this.
There's no minimum
A
size.
5x5, okay, I think that might be something to consider in the definition. Like if I get a very small 5x5 shed for my lawnmower, I don't think that should count toward my 3 or 4 accessory buildings. Or a toy, a chest to hold the kids' outdoor toys that can be moved around easily. I don't consider that a building. That's,
It would have to be something permanent. So like a pool shed for toys or something like that. That's not going to be considered an
okay.
accessory building.
So
or
it has to
anything
be a
like that.
permanent structure.
Yeah.
My apologies.
So in agreement, what do we want to go with to present to the city council?
My recommendation would be no more than 4 and under 1,000 square feet total.
Okay? Do you have any recommendations, sir?
Well, I was going with your recommendation for 3.
Okay,
I think 4 is too many.
yes, okay. Do you have any recommendations?
I think it depends on the size of the property. I don't like to see really crowded properties, just because they just don't look nice or orderly or, so that's what I'm concerned about. That, it's according to the size of the property as opposed to saying 3 buildings and then they look crowded. But
Correct. Well,
Mhm.
what I recommend then is no more than 3 buildings, not to exceed 1,000 square feet combined. And if they need more than that, then they present it to the BOA.
Okay. So we'll clarify 3 buildings. That sounds like that's mostly the consensus, and no, nothing
Are you-
exceeding 1,000 square feet in total with those 3 buildings.
Correct.
Okay. There's no vote. I mean, it's just staff direction. So I'll bring that definition back next month.
They can either do 1 building, 1,000 square feet, or 2
You could
buildings.
do 1 building, 1,000 square feet. It's just
1,000 square feet, 2
within those
buildings, or
3, it
3.
cannot exceed a total of 1,000 square feet.
And if they need to exceed 1,000 square feet, they present it to the BOA, and
Yes.
then we go forward. The way 1,000 square feet is not going to eat up a whole lot of the majority of the properties that exist in Balcones Heights right now. It's pretty much almost the size of this building. But you divide this into 3, you spread them around the back, it's not going to make a big difference.
Okay.
Are we okay with that? We in agreement?
10-4.
Maybe recognize?
Yeah, absolutely.
If we're limiting it to 3, I think we should reduce the number of 1,000 square feet, honestly. Those are very large buildings. If you have 2 20 by 20 sheds, that's already 400 square feet, and that's a lot of, 2 20 by 20s in your backyard is quite a bit. And that would still allow you to do a 20 by 10 or a couple of 10 by 10, or at least one more. I don't know, 1,000 square feet seems like a lot. Is there any direction from the city? Do you guys have any recommendations on the,
I don't.
no?
I don't have a recommendation on it.
I don't know, would you consider
Uh,
maybe 750 square
Well,
feet?
the reason because I build buildings.
Right,
um, when in a residence, 1,000 square feet, after you start putting stuff in there, is gonna add up real quick, like in a hurry. You're gonna fill it up. Stuff you don't need. I mean, look at our houses. You know, we had in the garage or in the storage in the attic, stuff that when you, oh, shoot, I forgot about that, but take it out into there. If you do go less than that, I mean, they don't have to go all the way to most people are not going to build it to 1,000 square feet. They're going to build what they need only. So, but if they don't exceed 1,000 square feet combined, you know, we have to at least give them that option. They have so much property. I mean, we have one of the biggest lots in this area. I mean, they're huge. Lots are huge. I wish I had a lot like that in my house, but I don't. So I still go with no more than 3 buildings and 1,000 square feet. You okay with that? Are we,
I agree with
But-
that.
A second.
okay. We agreed, okay. So let's present that. And if the city council wants to make an adjustment, adjust that.
It'll come back here first
Okay.
for y'all to approve before we sign off to
Okay.
council. But
All
I'll
right.
get those all figured out and bring it back probably next meeting.
Okay, along with the setbacks.
Setbacks are, yeah,
Okay,
those will be
already
in
said.
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That's all I have.
Okay.
Yep.
So that we have nothing else to discuss? Okay, so Now, the undersigned authority do hereby certify that this notice meeting was posted in the City Council of Nakai, accessible to general public at all times. Said notice posted to remain posted continues for 3 business days scheduled. Okay, so now call to adjourn the meeting. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting adjourned.